Hello, welcome to At Any Cost, the channel where we talk exclusively about Star Wars Unlimited's Twin Suns format. Today we're going to be talking about the red cards that you should be putting in your decks. Here's how we're going to be looking at these cards. Most games end between the 5 to 7 resources, so we're looking for some bombs and some closers on the 7 resource turn. We're looking for cards that can go in any deck, so some versatility. I'm hoping to show some old cards to some new players, so we've got some new sets coming out, but I want to show some maybe cards you haven't seen before or talked about. These do not include the new Twin Suns cards. Those cards are awesome. We'll talk about those in a different video. And also, just to highlight this for this video, some of these cards didn't fit in kind of one easy category. So you might notice some cards that go in here and there. And so I wanted to kind of give you a disclaimer before we start. It wouldn't be a video about red aggression cards if we weren't talking about the burn. If you're new to Star Wars Unlimited or Twin Suns, burn is where you're using card abilities to tick small amounts of damage on somebody's base over and over, trying to get them towards the end there. Up first is HK-47, 2-cost villainy, 2/4. When an enemy unit is defeated, deal 1 damage to its controller base. So anytime one of your opponents is losing a unit, you're also ticking 1 more damage onto their base. Next is 3 cost, the Chaos of War. It is a double aspect in red, so that could cost 5 depending on the aspects you have and what decks you're playing. This is also great at 5 costs. You know, this I was struggling with if this was between a burn or if this could be a closer. Like, depending on when you play this card, it could be really impactful. There's a lot of card draw in Twin Suns, and so there are some times where this could be dealing 5, 6, 7, 8 damage to somebody's base. Next is a 1-cost Reckless Gunslinger, 2/1. When played, deal 1 damage to each base, so that's even your base. The important aspect down here at the bottom is a smuggle for 3, so if you're inches away, if the game's almost over, you can play this to close it out. Or, again, we've talked about, or I want to introduce putting blood in the water. So a strategy to the Twin Suns is sometimes you can just deal enough damage to somebody to tempt another opponent or another player to try to finish them off, so this could help you do that. 1-cost Daring Raid is just deal 2 damage to a unit or base. This is great in any scenario. You can ping a shield, you can finish off a unit, or sometimes, again, blood in the water, just put 2 damage on someone's base, maybe get them really close. Next is a 3-cost Heroism, Fighters for Freedom. 3/4 Saboteur. When you play another red card, you may deal 1 damage to a base. So if you're playing a very red slanted deck, which, it kind of depends on what you're making in Twin Suns. You can be pinging that 1 damage to any base that you choose. Next is 2-cost Heroism, Adigalia. 2/4. When an opponent plays an event, deal 1 damage to that player's base. So not only does she have great, turn 1 stats at a 2/4, but anytime someone plays an event, you're dealing damage to that person's base, which events happen, I would say, maybe more frequently in Twin Suns. So this could help you out. Next is just a 2-cost Cavern Angels X-Wing, 2/1. When defeated, deal 2 damage to a base. If you've got some, if you got a Thrawn deck, or if you've got something that can, a Saw Gerrera, you're swinging up and hitting somebody, this is just a great card where you can trade it into somebody and deal a little extra damage to that base. So you might be wondering, if we're doing all this burn damage, can't they just heal through it? No, we won't allow them. No heals for you. Up first, we have 2-cost Wolf, 3/2 Saboteur. When played on attack, bases can't be healed for the phase. So as long as he's around, they're not going to be healing. Even if somebody pings him off, you got the win played, and no one's going to be healing for that phase. Next is Confederate Tri-Fighter, 3-cost Villainy, 3/3 Space Unit. Bases can't be healed. So as long as this guy is around and surviving, nobody's healing. And last is a 4-cost Shifty Suspects, 4/5. On attack, bases can't be healed for this phase. This one's, they could remove this, a little bit better. It's the person who's healing who's going to care. And if they've got some removal, if you play this too early in the round, somebody can remove it. But if you play this right and you can hopefully go before the person who's healing, you can make sure that bases can't be healed for that phase. Now we're moving on to some strong red units. Up first is ATDP Occupier, 4-cost 3/4. Overwhelm. This unit costs 1 less to play for each damage ground unit. There's going to be a lot of damage ground units. Most Twin Suns games are slanted to the ground, unless everyone always plays some space tech sometimes. But most often, you're going to see some damage ground units. I've played this guy for 1, for 2, 3/4 Overwhelm. That's close to like a 3-cost stat. So even if you've got 1 or 2 damage units on the board, this guy's going to be worth it. Next is a 4-cost Cham Syndulla, 5/4. When played, if an opponent controls more resources than you may put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. So this is some ramp in red, which is unusual for red. But this, if you're playing low to the ground, maybe you're not resourcing higher than 4, or you're playing somebody who's ramping a lot and they're trying to get to their big stuff quickly, this can help you catch up there. Next is 5 cost Punishing 1, 3/5 space unit. This unit gains raid 1 for each damaged enemy unit. So not just ground units, not just space units, any damaged unit. And it has a beautiful when played on attack, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. So you're automatically getting that raid 1 when you swing. He's hitting for a minimum of 4. This hits for usually 6, 7, 8, 9. It kind of just depends on, what kind of Twin Suns game you're playing, but this guy hits for a lot. You can really buff him up. Next is a classic if you've played Twin Suns or Star Wars Unlimited for a while. 3 cost, Disabling Fang Fighter, 3/2. When played, you may defeat an upgrade. That can be a pilot leader upgrade. It doesn't say a space or ground upgrade. This is any upgrade. Just delete it, and you've put a decent unit on the board for 3. Same thing on the ground, 2 cost, Outer Rim Constable, 3/1. When played, you may defeat an upgrade. Again, red is all about weakening your opponent's units. I'm not going to let you do your plan. I'm going to weaken them and keep attacking your base. Next is Corellian Hounds, 5 cost, 5/5. If an opponent controls no ground units, this unit enters play ready. So if you're playing somebody who has just a space deck, this is beautiful. This unit comes in ready. You can also play this towards the end of the round, kind of wait until somebody, if somebody has a sentinel or people are trading on the ground, and you can play it when somebody doesn't have any ground units left, and you can just sneak this one in and get an extra 5 damage. I wouldn't call it a closer for 5 damage, but man, this comes in, and just to come in ready really scares some people. On to some heroism units. Up first, we've got K2SO, 4 cost, 4/4, Overwhelm. When defeated, for each opponent, choose 1. Either deal 3 damage to that player's base, or that player discards a card from their hand. So you can put some blood in the water, deal damage to somebody's base, get them close, tempt some other players, or maybe someone only has 1 or 2 cards left in their hand, and you want to ruin their day, and you can discard something from them. Next is Poe Dameron, 5 cost, 6/6. On attack, discard up to 3 cards from your hand. For each card discarded this way, choose a different option. So you can't double up on these abilities, but you can discard 2 different cards from your hand and pick 2 of these abilities, or you can discard 3 and do 3. Deal 2 damage to a unit or base, defeat an upgrade, or an opponent discards a card from the hand. The only downside to Poe is that this isn't like a win played, and so you have to be careful and time this right where you can play him and somebody can't remove him, so you get to use him the next turn. Otherwise, Poe Dameron is arguably the best 5-drop in the game. He has great abilities, just make sure he can survive. Getting towards the end now with some closers and bombs. Up first, we've got Savage Oppress, 7 cost, Villainy, 7/7. When played, if you control fewer units, including this one, than an opponent, ready this unit. So notice it doesn't say each opponent, it just says an opponent. So you can play this, targeting somebody who just simply is swarming the board or has more units left, and you can do some surprise 7 damage. Now, he doesn't ambush, so if you play him and time this right, you won't allow somebody to remove him. He can stay in the game. Next is Mace Window, also a 7 cost, Heroism, 5/7 ambush. When this unit attacks and defeats a unit, ready him. So you can kill something smaller, he readies up, and then if he can stay alive until the next, go around for you, then he can hit again. My favorite closer, Gorilla Attack Pod, 6 cost, Heroism, 4/6. When played, if a base has 15 or more damage on it, ready this unit. 4 is not a lot, a lot of damage for a closer or a bomb, but you can play this guy later in the game and he comes in ready. You can attack a smaller unit to buff him up and get that grit, or, hopefully you're sneaking in there and someone's just 4 damage away. You can play him, he comes in ready, you got the game. Or at least 5 damage healed from your base. Next, Cassian Andor is a 3 cost Heroism unit, 3/5. The most important part of this card why it's a closer is the smuggle. So if you pay 5 for the smuggle cost, it says when played using smuggle, ready this unit. So kind of like Savage, kind of like Mace Windu. You can play this guy, smuggle him in for 5, and he comes in ready. Again, only 3 damage, but you're also only paying 5 for him. Again, another way to sneakily close out the game on somebody. Next is a War Juggernaut, 6 cost, 3/7. This unit gets +1 for each damage unit. When played, deal 1 damage to each of any number of units. So you can hit everything on the board and buff this guy up crazy. The problem is that people have a chance to respond. However, the things they are going to have to run into this guy are going to immediately die because he's going to be so buff because you've just damaged everything on the board. So you're basically playing like a ticking time bomb with this one, just being like, can you answer this? And if you can time it right again in the round, you can hopefully hit with him first next turn. And last, we've got some honorable mentions. The first one is a 1 cost, Force Throw. Choose a player. That player discards a card from their hand. Then, if you control a force unit, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the cost of the discarded card. This card was so good it was banned from Premier, especially because they added more force units into the game. If you're playing a red force deck, this card has to be in there. Sabine Wren is a leader I want you to think about. Her action, which costs you nothing, deal 1 damage to each base. She is a 4 deploy leader. I'll show you her flip side in a second. Yeah, you're hurting your own base, but you're ticking the game a little bit faster, which is what you want to be doing as an aggressive leader. Her stats are flip on 2/5. Fine, you know, it's okay for 4 costs, but the big thing is on attack, deal 1 damage to each enemy base. So now when she flips, you're not hurting your own base anymore. Next is Admiral Ozzel, 3 cost, villainy, 3/1. When defeated, each opponent discards a card from their hand. This is in here just because I love hand hate, and if you're playing the Thrawn leader, you've now discarded 2 cards from everybody's hand, which is hilarious, and no one's going to like you, but man, it's fun. Next is 4 cost, Saw Gerrera. He is a double aspect, so you might be paying 6 for him if you don't have double aspect red. He's a 5/4. As an additional cost, for each opponent playing an event, they must deal 2 damage to their base. So if someone plays an event, it's kind of like Adigalia, he's doing 2 damage to their base this time. Great burn card, but again, it's costly for, you know, double aspect red. Next is 3 cost, another double aspect, Chairman Pompanoida. When a player draws 1 or more card during the action phase, you may disclose double red. If you do, create a spy token. So if you're leaning into that heavy double red, you're going to be creating at least a spy token every round because, hint, hint, wink, wink, the plan token is drawing a card. And last, I realized when I'm making this video, this should have just been in the list. Bravado is a 5 cost, most likely going to be a 3 cost. If you've defeated an enemy unit this phase, this event costs 2 less to play, ready a unit. So the caveat is you have to have defeated the unit, but that is very likely, and you can pay a 3 cost to ready a unit and sneak and steal that game. This should have been on my bomb and my closers list, but, you know, you live and you learn. Okay, and the very last thing is I wanted to show you guys the cards I was thinking about when I was making this list, so if you need a screenshot or look at something, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've got some more deck videos on the way with some colors. I've tweaked some of the Twin Suns precons, but I've got some more videos coming out for you guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.